Alright, I'm pretty much done with that video. Now to kick back in my space mansion and... a comment. I love comments. Hey man, love the last video, but it would be great if you could give examples of what you were talking about. You know, to flesh out the vid a little bit more.
Keep at it, man.
Now, according to Internet Protocol, when confronted with a well thought out and reasonable comment, it's my job to insult the commentator's mother, specifically to reference an alleged unhealthy weight, having relations, quote unquote, with multiple partners, with an added insinuation that one of the partners is the commentator's father. That sounds like a lot of work. I need a topic for this video anyway, so let's just answer the comment. Roll title! So, in my last video, I touched on a variety of aspects of religious lore in gaming. Specifically, I noted what I consider to be deficiencies in the way games construct their religious lore in games. While well received, a comment that was posted pointed out that it would be helpful to show some games that illustrate the points I made in the prior video. In this video, we'll look at two gaming worlds. In particular, we will focus on how these games fail to infuse any sense of morality that makes sense of the religion, and the failure to imbue the religion with any sense of aesthetic or symbolism. Hopefully, with these examples, we will have a clearer picture of what we were discussing in the previous video. The Dragon Age series. We've talked about the Dragon Age series quite a bit in these videos, and it only makes sense since the Chantry, the dominant faith of the realm in the series, has such an influence in the formation of characters and the events that the hero encounters in those games. And when one considers the lore that a gamer can discover in the games, it's obvious that a great deal of time was spent trying to weave a religious historical record into the narrative that breathed life into the digital faith. So, for the uninitiated, the Chantry is the predominant faith of the Dragon Age universe insofar that the first two games are concerned. The lore tells the tale of the Maker, i.e. God, Andraste, a woman so beautiful that God fell in love with her and made her his bride, ? The war with the Imperium, who invaded the Golden City, i.e. Heaven, and so on and so forth, yada yada yada. Really, the lore serves two purposes. The talk about the creation of the Darkspawn, the enemies of the first game, and the Chantry itself and its task with keeping magic users in check. All in all, fairly straightforward with parallels to Christianity such as a clerical order, a Knight Templar order, and even their own version of the Crusades. And unfortunately, that's all it really does. There's a lot of interesting history, but that's all that it offers. History. The Chantry lacks anything of a moral philosophy that isn't imposed unilaterally. The moral teaching of the Chantry lacks coherence, has nothing that it roots itself in, and seems to simply smuggle in metaphysical elements of Christianity into a lore that is completely foreign to it. It's as if it borrowed chunks of the Old Testament with some feel-good aspects of Christianity in the New Testament and forced it into the narrative they were building. But by far the biggest issue with the Chantry is that the morality imposed seems to have little connection to the Maker himself. See, after Andraste was killed, the Maker peaced out because he thought humans sucked or something. So the Chantry leaders came up with the idea that if the whole world chanted for the Maker to return, he would. Or something, that last part's a bit fuzzy. And that's the big issue. It's fuzzy. From the point of the mythos to the relationship that followers of the Chantry have with the Maker, the whole point of the religion gets lost in the narrative. After playing the games 5 times or so, I still have no idea what's expected of a day-to-day follower of the faith, or why they would even follow the moral teaching. Unfortunately, I have to agree with Morgan that despite the evidence that what the Chantry says might be true, that particular religion is for suckers. And this extends into the symbolism of the Chantry. What does Andraste's death mean to the average follower of the Chantry? What does her battle with the Tevinter Imperium represent to the life of the farmer in the field? What does the history of the Chantry tell us about the afterlife? The Maker? Bueller? Anyway, there are many positives for the religion presented in Dragon Age, but it lacks anything that would make it an actual religion worth following. Little to no moral depth, plus a lack of deeper meaning translates into a religion that is anything but. The Witcher series. Oh boy. Yeah, the Witcher series. If Dragon Age is gaming's attempt to be fair to religion, The Witcher seems to want to take religion and beat it to dust. The antagonism that The Witcher has to its idea of religion is such that it only shows up when a bad guy is needed. Now, I need to issue 2 big disclaimers here. The first one is that the Witcher games are based off of the book series of the same name, so concepts that feel very thin in the games might be far more fleshed out in the books. I have no idea. Disclaimer number 2. My bad impression of the religious elements in the Witcher games might be due to poor storytelling rather than a real animosity toward religion. The exposition in the series, especially the first one, is so poorly done in other areas that it isn't hard to extend the benefit of the doubt here as well. Having said all this, the religious elements in The Witcher have little bearing except when a bad army is needed to fulfill the main villain's ambitions. Let's dig into it a bit. The Order of the Flaming Rose is a knightly religious order. A what religion, you might ask? Well, there really isn't a lot of information on this. That'd be strike 1 against this. Secondly, despite little to no information about the Eternal Flame, which is the religion, their followers are fanatics. Strike number 2. But perhaps the most egregious problem the game presents with its form of religion is how the character Siegfried is treated in the game. And you might detect some annoyance in my voice, so bear with me. Siegfried is one of the Knights of the Order. He's honorable to a fault when you first meet him, courageous, virtuous, and doing what's right for the sake of what's right. He's the poster boy for Geralt to entice you to follow the path of the Order, one of the choices you can make who you ally with toward the end of the game. So that should be good, right? Well, it was right up until the final chapter when Siegfried starts murdering civilians with his band of mutants in order to put down the terrorist non-humans known as the Scoia'tael. Because he also hates non-humans for some reason or something. I literally have no idea how we got from Siegfried the Knight to Siegfried the War Criminal. The game would have us believe, from what I can tell, is that this is religious fanaticism. But the game never tells us exactly what the Order believes, much less how that connects to murderous rampage. What is it about the moral vision of the Order that leads to this? Who knows? And symbolism? For a narrative-driven game, The Witcher is quite lacking in the necessary context to make heads or tails of these events. So those are just a few examples of what I'm describing in my last video. And to be sure, there are other examples out there, but I think this will suffice for now. Over the last few videos, we've been pointing out a lot of negatives in games. Next time we'll look at some positives. Let's show some examples of where games get religions right. Or at least some examples of how religious elements in games are used in quality ways. I haven't decided yet. Just leave a comment and I'll probably do it just like this time. As always, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.